Welcome to the Dog Mom Knits YouTube channel. My name is Amanda, and this is video number 5 of my How to Knit a Dishcloth tutorial. Today we are going to be talking about how to weave in ends. So in the knitting community, well, let me back up. When you finish binding off a project, which we did in part 4 of this tutorial, you're off the needles, your project is done, but you have these 2 strings. One coming from your bind off and one coming from your cast on. You can't just snip them. Oops, sorry. You can't just snip them because they could come unraveled. So what do you do with them? Well, technically the last step to having a finished knitted object is to weave in your ends. Now, there is some debate in the knitting community about whether this is a finished object, even though the ends haven't been woven in, or whether you have to weave in your ends first and then call it a finished object. It doesn't really matter, but I will admit to being in the second group. This to me is not a finished object because I cannot use it yet. I can't use it until I weave in my ends. So as soon as I finish knitting, as soon as I finish binding off a project, I grab my tapestry needle or my darning needle and I immediately weave in my ends. So to weave in your ends, you just thread your yarn onto the needle. And since we did this entirely in garter stitch, you're looking to weave in on these little loops right here. And so you're just gonna go over that one and then under that one, and then I'll go over, and then I'll go under, and then I'll go over. There is no real exact science to this. It's all good either way. And so I've done a couple on this row, so now I'm going to jump down here. So I'm just coming straight down to the next row, and I'm going to do my same over, under, over, under. And then I've gotten basically back to the beginning, so I'll go down here. Now, I tend to weave in much more of my ends than I think most people do. I go a little crazy, I think, and weave in a lot because I want to be really sure that that end cannot come apart. Sorry, it caught on me. Come on. There it goes. But I think that's good enough. So I'm just going to take my needle out, take my scissors, and just trim, and I can throw this away. And so now we're going to do the same thing for the other end. So you just thread your yarn onto your tapestry needle. I'm going to look for my little loops, and I'm just going to start doing my over, under. Oh, sorry guys, I was completely off frame there. Over, under, over, under. A few times across the first row, and then I'll jump down to that second row and I'll do some over unders down here. And I'll jump down to my third row so that I've got that done. Just because, again, I tend to go a little crazy and weave in a lot so that it can't come apart. I don't think it would, but that's okay. So I've weaved in enough, so I'm going to take my darning needle off and I'm going to cut my end. This is trash. And now, in my vocabulary, we have a finished knitted object. You can take this to your kitchen and put it in your sink and wash your dishes with it. You can take it to the bathroom and use it in the shower or the bath. Or you could just put this somewhere where you want to look at it and say, I knit that, and be very, very proud of yourself. The next video in this series is going to discuss variation number 1, the stockinette stitch dishcloth. And then there will be a video 7, which talks about the variation number 2, grandma's favorite dishcloth. So if you want to challenge yourself, now that you've knit your first garter stitch dishcloth, if you want to challenge yourself with something different, there will be videos. There is also probably in your ball of yarn a ton left. So maybe go ahead and cast on another dishcloth. I hope this tutorial series has helped you become proficient in knitting, so that you see it's really not that hard. And I hope that you enjoy the knitting process and that you enjoy all of the finished objects that are going to make their way into your home. Happy knitting!